It's my pleasure to welcome Ed Bohman, a 2002 graduate of Batesville High School who now is a football teacher and a business coach for us here at Batesville High School. Ed, welcome back. Tell us a little bit about your journey back into our BHS classrooms.
Okay, thank you for having me back, Andy. Really excited to be back at BHS. You know, I guess you could sum up my journey back to Batesville High School in one word pretty easily with unconventional. You know, it's been a 20-year process for me. You know, as a 2002 graduate, I went to gunsmithing school in Colorado, and then, you know, that kind of led me into the military, and from there, working for the State Department, and from there, that's when I decided to move back home. You know, I knew that wasn't a viable long-term option for me, and moved home, started my business, and going into my 12th year of business, Bowman Arms, building custom bolt-action rifles is what I do primarily. And then during that time, it kind of led me to, I was either going to use or lose my GI Bill. And I knew about 5 years ago, like, I either have to make a move or I'm going to lose it. So I went to school, got my business finance degree through Indiana University at the Columbus campus, and with the intent that, you know, I think I want to pursue teaching, coaching, and get back into football and get back involved. So that's kind of been my journey back into this. In the last 3 or 4 months, as you know, have been kind of a whirlwind and a lot going on. And I guess it's, you know, you could accredit it to being at the right place, the right time, and having my ducks in a row to be able to take this opportunity. And again, I just want to thank you. I'm very excited to be here and have this opportunity.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and we'll talk a little bit about that journey. But you mentioned the source of pride in your background, your time in our armed services. We thank you for your commitment for our country. Within that experience, several lessons instilled in you. How can those be translated back to our classroom and then also the football field?
I mean, I think the big ones for me, you know, and I could talk about this for a while, but if I had to sum it up, you know, perseverance would be the big one. Developing that sense of mental toughness and the willingness to overcome whatever the obstacle might be, whether it's, you know, related to business, sports. Obviously football is my passion, but, you know, having that mental toughness and the perseverance to move forward in whatever it is you're trying to do. And the other big one for me from the military is setting goals and having clearly defined objectives of where you're trying to get to. And, you know, I use a mountain as an analogy all the time. You know, if you're never going to get to the top of the mountain if you're lost. You got to decide you're going to the top of the mountain. And once you decide that, that's where, you know, you can put in place the steps needed to put you on that trajectory. But I think, you know, for me in the military, you know, becoming a Green Beret was obviously, that was my mountain. And I committed myself and dedicated everything to taking the steps necessary to achieve that. So I think, you know, having that understanding and some of the leadership that goes along with that, I think is the greatest asset that I can bring from my military background to both football and teaching in the classroom.
Again, thank you for your service, and we've seen that in our experiences together, that background playing out in our classrooms. You and I met this summer regarding the transition to teaching process, kind of an impromptu conversation that led us to where we are. For those interested in how you made this quick and efficient transition to our classroom, tell us a little bit about the process and how your educational and professional background helped facilitate obtaining licensure.
Okay, so my licensure through the state of Indiana is the Career Specialist Permit. So there's 3 key components to obtaining that. The first being having a bachelor's degree with a 3.0 GPA in whatever field you're trying to get licensure. So for me, I already had my degree in business finance, so that was done. The next step was to take the praxis exam, which, you know, it took me about a month to get it scheduled, and, you know, I bought some online study material because I didn't want to do it twice.
Right,
so, you know, I prepared for it and took the praxis. So that was step 2. And then the final thing with the Career Specialist Permit is to show 4,000 hours of professional experience in your field. So for me, having been, you know, 10 plus years as a small business owner, that was the experience I used to obtain my permit. So that consisted of 3 years of tax returns and, you know, about a month for them to review it. So the whole process, start to finish, I think took me right around 2 to 2.5 months, and it was really pretty smooth.
Wonderful. And you helped us out first semester, a little bit of a transition of covering a couple classes for a few week segments to help you out. And now you have your own classroom, 2 classes of entrepreneurship. With your background as a small business owner, how do you connect your experiences to the classroom?
I think the big one for me is, and I think this is probably the number one thing that goes into being an entrepreneur, is getting over that fear of failure. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And I mean, everybody struggles with it to some extent, but some people almost become petrified because of it, and it prohibits them from moving forward with an idea. I mean, there's a lot of good ideas out there that never happen because people are afraid to move forward with it. So I think that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, is getting over that fear of failure. And then after that, it's accepting that there is an inherent risk with everything that we do. Yep. And how you mitigate that risk is through your research and due diligence and bring that risk to a tolerable level for you. And that varies based on the individual. And then lastly, some of my own personal experiences, I've made plenty of mistakes over the last 12 years. So if I can share some of that with the students and maybe prevent them from making some of the same mistakes that I have, I think, that sometimes it's not so much telling them what to do, but what not to do.
Sure. We see entrepreneurship and business in general being a big focus for our Gen Z kids right now. It makes up 91% of our audience here, Gen Zers. It's a growing interest to them, and when they're in your classroom, they want to learn about entrepreneurship. What principles will you emphasize over the course of this semester?
Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades and have at least a basic understanding of all the different facets of business. So the intent of this class and why I'm so excited about it is because I think it's applicable to the students, whether they go on to college, learn a trade, whatever they end up doing once they leave Batesville High School. I think they can take things from this class and apply them to whatever it is that they do. So, we're gonna cover, market analysis, and we're gonna get into operations and, some of the Lean Six Sigma principles that go into that, and give them an understanding of how to organize their thoughts. And then obviously marketing. What are we going to sell? Who are we going to sell it to? How are we going to sell it to them? What are we going to charge? And then last but not least, I think everybody's favorite, right? Finance and accounting. We're going to have a basic understanding of income statements, the balance sheet, understanding what goes on those 2 documents. And then also spending some considerable time on break-even analysis, right? And all this is ultimately to put it into some kind of organized plan and structure to where they can, objectively and analytically look at, is my business idea feasible? Does it make sense? If it's not, okay, what do we need to change? If it is, okay, now I can move forward and I have a guide for my business plan, but also I have a document that I can take to a potential investor, to a bank, and obtain funding if needed. So that's kind of the broad overview of the class is prepare them to have the tools needed to make that objective analytical decision regarding their business plan.
Part of your return is also helping with our football program. And so one of the nice things from my role is to have our teachers also be coaches so that we can see all kids all day. How does your involvement with our football program help you better connect with classroom students?
Well, the obvious one would be, when we're having a lull in the conversation, I spend a lot of time with the football guys in the morning in the weight room. So, they're nice, big, easy targets for me to pick on if need be. But all that aside, I think if you look at, entrepreneurship and all the things and the qualities that go into being a successful entrepreneur, leadership, commitment, dedication, passion, hard work, all of those things are directly relatable to football, to whatever your passion is, right? If it's football, basketball, but it doesn't matter, right? So I think all those things can be relatable to whatever it is that the kids or whatever their passion is. They can take something from it and apply that to what they want to do.
I think it's great. We're so fortunate to have you back in the classroom this semester. Also working with our kids, before school, after school. You're here nonstop. Thank you for your help with us as we welcome you back. We first met back in 2001. Unfortunately, I was the teacher and you were the student. But it's wonderful to have you back here, Ed. Thanks for helping us out, all the what you do for our kids, and we look forward to your continued involvement at Batesville High School. Ed Bohman, ladies and gentlemen, now a teacher and also assistant football coach at Batesville High School.